So now once you're ready to start with your top band, mine is a lot longer. I made mine longer, so that's not a problem. But you wanted to do what you did on your foot. You're going to just fold this over, but this time you're going to fold it over twice. And then you're going to either pin it or use your iron, which I have, and it's just easier if you do that to it. And this is going to be for the top part of our, this will be for the top of for the top part of our band. So do that, just fold it in just a little bit, once again 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and then fold it over again and pin it. And that one is coming out. And you can do that all the way around, and once you can either do this first and then use your iron, or do it the other way. But just get it like this so that you have a folded in band, because we're going to sew that, and that's going to be at the top of our garment. So you can go ahead, do that, and then I'll meet you back. Pin this, you fold it over and pin it over. You're pinning it into the wrong side of your fabric. This is the right side. Okay, so you're pinning it into the wrong side. Now what you're going to do once you've done that, find the center of your band. Just fold it over and find the center. That's the center. And then you're going to take your pants, the top part of your pants. Now this doesn't have a front or a back because it's so baggy it doesn't really need one. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold one of these over. Here's the front. You're going to just find the center of one of these. So I'm just folding it over from the seam to the seam, and I want to find the back, the center, which is over here. So that's my center over here, and this is the right side of my fabric. So this is the right side of my fabric. Okay, now you're going to take this one and you're going to put it on the center, right side to right side. Okay, and you're going to just pin it over there. So that's the center and that's the center. Doesn't have to be exact, but you want it more or less. And this, we'll just make this our back. We're going to have where these two join in the, this will be our front, sorry, and we're going to, where we join these two, that will be the back. So we kind of know where our back will be. So now you're going to just pin this one on, just like this. Pin it all the way around before you sew this, just because I don't need so much band. So I just want to do this to mine. So I'm just going to pin it on all the way around, and this way. Let's go over all of this. And come all the way around, and then we'll have to because this then will show us where our band would be stopping. Each side should be stopping by that middle. So this one will stop here because that's the center over there, and then this one comes from this side. Whoops. And this one will come around here. And then, okay, so now I've come around and I can see exactly how long my band needs to be. Now we're going to be sewing these two together once again. So you want to be sure where these two meet. So I'm going to be joining them over here. And I'll just put a pin there so I know. Okay, which means this can be cut off. Yes, I don't want to sew all the way unnecessary. So once you've got it looking like this and like that, I'm going to go ahead and sew. I'm going to sew from here. I'm going to start sewing over here. So I'm leaving quite a bit over there. I'm starting here and I'm going to finish before this. So go ahead and do that. I'm going to just start here and I'm going to go all the way around, and I'm not going to go right up to here. I'm going to leave at least an inch off here as well. because we've still got to sew this together. Alright, so once you've sewn this 1 inch from either side, right, so we got it to the middle, you've left 1 inch on either side, you've got a better idea as to where these two need to be joined together. Alright, so because you're not going to see this, I don't mind stopping and starting here. So now what I can do is I can see this needs to be folded over there and that one over there. So right over here you can pinch it together. Right here is where we need to have them done together. So I can take that off there, and this is where they need to be joined. Okay, and you can see there that it's going to fit perfectly. So all I have to do is sew across. So all I'd have to do is sew across there once I've sewn this. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew this together. And you can see right over there. That's why you need enough space here so that you can sew this. When you sew down, I just use my pins to do it. Be sure that these are folded under with this. So you're going to come over it with that folded under on both sides. That's very important. Otherwise you're going to have a problem. So go ahead and sew that, and then I'll meet you back here. So I'm going to go ahead, sew this all the way over here, just with a straight line, just come straight over here, and then I'll meet you. Okay, so I sewed mine and I overlocked it. You'd want to overlock it before you do this part here. It's just a little bit easier to work that way. So I sewed mine and then I overlocked it, and now I'm just going to sew this together. So now I'm just going to do a straight line over there because this is the right size. And then I'm going to overlock this part over here. So you can go ahead and do that, and then I will meet you back now. Alright, so I've got that sewn in there and I've overlocked it nicely too. So you have it nicely here. Now we're going to sew the top part over here. You're going to sew this band in. This is the right way, and you're folding it, you're sewing it in. Now just be careful with this one. Be sure that you catch that so it's underneath, because this is the top part of your pants, and this is where it will be seen. So you want to be sure that you get this under, even if you have to pull it down a little bit like that. Just be sure whatever you do sew this down and it's not showing up there. Yeah, so go ahead, sew all the way around, sew all of this under, and then we're going to do the last step, which is gathering this part. Alright, so what we want to do now is to gather our top part of our garment. Now you can see this is in the back. I put it in the back especially so that now we know this is the back. We'll just wear that always as the back. So what you want to do is you want to get your elastic, and we're just going to wind it onto the bobbin ourselves. I just think it's going to be a little bit better so I can get a good tension on here. So however, you don't want to go too tight or too loose when you're winding up your bobbin. Just as a gentle kind of a winding, and it's better to do it by yourself instead of using your machine. So I'm going to go ahead and do mine, and then I'm going to show you how to put your elastic in your bobbin, because the way you put it in is going to depend. So just wind your own bobbin instead of using the machine. The machine stretches it out. Put it in. Now I'm also making my stitch a little bit larger, so I'm just making it a little bit larger so that when we do this it comes out a little bit better. So those are the two things. So those are the two things you need to know. Wind up your bobbin and make your stitch a little bit larger. Practice on a piece of fabric before you work on your actual garment. I would rather practice first and just see. Now we're going to start from the one end, and I'm going to be starting over here where we start here, and you're going to make, it depends on how gathered you want it. The closer you make your rows of stitches, the more gathered it's going to be, and you can go from 1/4 inch all the way to 1/2 inch to 1 inch, just depending on how gathered you want yours. I am looking at about, so I'm going to make mine 1/2 inch. Now you can get yourself a marking pencil. I'm just going to go with this dark one, and if I can get it opened, and you can mark the spaces. Now if you want to draw a total line across, you can, or you can use your machine. but you can go, I'm going from the top there to half here. Whoa. And that's leaving a little mark there. Then I'm going to go from that one and go to a half over there. From there to there, that gives me a half. And there. And if you see these look like they're too many, you can do less. But if you start doing them, you kind of want to keep the same measurement. So, I mean, work on a little piece of fabric and see how well it gathers. And that works pretty well. And I can get the last one in right over here. Right over there, we'll get the last one in. And yeah, as I say, you can draw a line all the way across, and then you can stay with your sewing pretty straight. You know, you can just go like that and draw your lines all the way, and then just follow those lines. It's probably a better thing to do. So I'm going to draw my lines and then I'll meet you back here. Alright, so I started marking mine, but I'm going to use my machine as a marker. I know where to stay with the lines that I've had. Now we're going to go from here all the way around. When you come back here, we're going to come back down here and then come here. So we're not going to be stopping our work. We're going to just keep going. So be sure that you do have enough bobbin on. And yes, I'm going to go from here all the way around, come down, and I'll show you when I turn around. So I'm going to go ahead and start with mine. Alright, so once you have wound up your bobbin by hand, you don't want to have it too tight or too loose. You just want to do it at a good tension. You're just winding it up like that. Just at a pretty good tension. Don't stretch it too much, just wind it. And the important part now is getting your bobbin into your little casing here. There's a certain knack to doing this, and you want this to be pulled fairly tightly. You want a good tension, so you put it in, bring it around, but pull this. If you don't pull this, you're not going to get the tension that you want. Oops, and now I've just lost it. So you want to keep your, whoops, you want to keep your bobbin, let's just use a new one. You're going to keep your bobbin tight, hold your bobbin and just pull this so that it's got a good tension, and then you put this on and then you pull your bobbin through. And it's a little tricky getting your bobbin through your elastic. If you don't pull it like that, you're not going to get it ruffled on your fabric. I suggest that you experiment first. Now you can see here these didn't ruffle at all, and I didn't pull my bobbin with that, so therefore they didn't work. These have worked well because I pulled that. The other thing you want to do is take your stitch, and I put mine onto a 4. You want a bigger stitch, because if it's too small you're going to have a smaller ruffle. And get a piece of fabric before you start on your garment and be sure that it's actually working for you. So go ahead and do your experiment, and if it's not ruffling then you need to check your bobbin, and this is ruffling, so my bobbin is fine the way it is, and you can see there it's ruffled. Alright, so just those are a few tips that you need to know. Make a bigger stitch, pull your tension, because if you're not ruffling that's where your problem is coming. And then you're going to go ahead and start on your on the top part. So once again, as I said, we can start where our mark is over there. Now I'm going to start right over here. Now we're going to have to stop and start. I'm just measuring mine. I didn't make my lines all the way. I'm going according to my stitches. So however you want to do that. Now I'm going to first start with a small stitch with a 1. I'm with a size 1, and I'm going to start right as close to that seam as I can. Starting at the very seam there. I'm starting at the seam, and I'm putting my stitch on 1. I've got my stitch on 1, and then I'm going to begin, and I'm going to just do 1, 2, 3 stitches, and then I'm going to go back a few, and then I'm going to come forward again, and then I'm going to change mine to the number 4, and then I'm going to go ahead Then I'm going to go ahead and sew all the way around. So as long as you put it on one, go forward, go back, go forward, go back, and then put it onto the larger stitch, and then you can go ahead and start sewing. And it should start to ruffle. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. When I come to the end, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put it on a 1, and I'm just going to stitch there and over. I'm just going to do the same thing. Stitch with a number 1 and go back. So forward and back, and then I'm going to start my next row over here. So you can do that, and you can begin your next row, and you can do all your rows like that, and I'll meet you back now. Once you come to this beginning part where you had started, so once you get to the beginning, just keep going. Come right up to where this beginning part is, and then you're going to come down. So I'll show you now. Come over there, right over there, and then you're going to lift your needle up, turn your work down, and then you're going to come down up to that line, turn it around, and then you're going to start on this line again. So you're just flipping it around, coming down and starting on your line, so you don't have to keep starting your new yarn, and just stay on your line. And now when you sew, you want to stretch your you want to straighten your fabric as you sew, because you don't want to sew with it like this. You want to, as you go, just stretch it out, so when you're sewing here, it's going to be on a straight piece of fabric. So that's pretty important. So just remember that. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do all of mine, and then I'll meet you back now that you have completed your pants. I hope that they have turned out well, that you have something that you really like. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I don't mind answering them, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can with those. But I hope that you've had fun, and I hope to see you in my next lessons. Keep watching. I do send reminders of new lessons that I'm putting up. But other than that, I hope to see you in my next lesson or my next course. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye.